Hi everybody, welcome very much to the channel. Esoteric Cloud Surfer here, ready to do an aftermath after the full moon in Taurus. Thank you very much for watching, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and use the links down below to know more about my content and to book services with me as well. So we just experienced full moon in Taurus. The moon is right now 12 degrees Gemini, and it still is a little bit full. So for the next 5 days, we're going to still experience overreaction, over emotions, maybe a bit of overindulgence, right? So now it's the perfect time to look back at what we experienced or not, because sometimes people overreact on the full moon because they lack something, and perhaps they have what they need, but they feel they need more, so they can be reacting to lacking something where they still have it, but they just feel more, or they still feel insecure, right? They're just an extra optional information here. So right now it's a great time to look back, reflect on the full moon, and take actions in the present to either correct any bad seeds or any bad outcomes, or to just redirect or recognize the path that you are in if you are on the right path. Right? So full moon in Taurus meant that we were overreacting or over-responding to feelings, emotions, manifestations, and materializations that dealt with our fixed and unique ability to have security, structure, privacy, and efficiency in physical circumstances, but also emotional circumstances. Because when we talk about profit and earth signs, it's not always about money, it's about emotional profit, relationships, organization, connection. For example, Virgo profit, it's a lot about being organized, being healthy, not stressed, and keep you and your team or your group organized and together, okay? But it's also about money, but not only about money, right? So we had the sun in Scorpio and the moon in Taurus, hence the full moon, and the sun in Scorpio meant that we were acting, not acting and responding, acting, envisioning and expressing deep feelings, deep emotions, and deep passions, motivation, anger, and frustration. And we were feeling or attracting places, circumstances, feelings, and emotions that made us more realistic, more practical, more insecure, or more dry towards those Scorpio things coming from ours and others' expressions, right? So the overreaction might be from yourself. You are seeing with the sun in Scorpio a deeper emotional view, right? And you were maybe you didn't felt that makes sense, or that fits your reality, or that doesn't bring stability, right? Or perhaps you just thought that you were being too realistic and too dry towards your deep visions and imaginations, and maybe you overreacted because you felt you didn't have enough purpose. You felt you weren't connected to your purpose, or somebody or the external world made you feel that way, right? Because on the full moon it's a bit easier for the external realm to affect our internal realm, but also the other way around, aka manifestation and materialization, right? And now the moon has moved into Gemini, mutable air, the ability to be mutable and adaptable with your own way of thinking, communicating, and analyzing in more logical, cold, and detached ways, right? So now we can manifest and materialize more lighter ways to think, communicate, and analyze the deep emotions and feelings, the deep circumstances, and the deep reactions to our reality that we went through 2.5 days ago until like yesterday, right? So what can we get help from, quote unquote, in here? Talking with somebody, but not everybody, because it's still Scorpio season and we just left full moon in Taurus. So in order to lighten up yourself, you should communicate in a more clear and logical way with people, places, and things that are already more deep with you. You already share a deep and meaningful connection, or you are in a support type of dynamics, or you already show to each other your values. You already worked on each other values. You already value each other, right? Because the full moon, or quote unquote, full moon in Gemini, the aftermath of this full moon in Taurus might make you overstimulated into go and share your emotions with the surroundings, or you might be overreacting to the communication and the gossip that you're receiving through news, websites, neighbors, and basically everybody in general, right? That's a little bit the downside of this full moon in Gemini, quote unquote, because it can still perturb even if you had good seeds blossoming on the full moon in Taurus, aka your reality was good enough to support your deep passions, motivations, and desires, but now you can share it too much in a logical and dry way, or you can allow the environment to perturb how you think, communicate, and analyze about those good things that you manifest and materialize. So keep an eye on that. Don't take your mind too far away. And we should use our mind today and for the next 2 days to clear up any deep emotions and deep feelings that are not a part of our new cycle, because right now it starts the descending process, quote unquote, descending physically, uplifting spiritually, right? It starts right now that process of the moon, where the moon goes from full moon in Taurus to new moon in Sagittarius in like 2 weeks or so. So right now it's time to let go, right? You planted seeds on the new moon, you water them, you watch them grow, and then they blossomed or not if you plant some bad seeds, and now it's time to move on, right? And the full moon, or quote unquote full moon in Gemini, is great to detach in a light way, because sometimes Aries and Aquarius, they are also great energies to detach, but they're a bit more serious, they're a bit more reckless, they go a bit more deep, they hit a bit more hard. While Gemini, sometimes even people don't like other Geminis because they are too smooth with that distancing, with that separation. They might be separated from you and you don't know, because they still talk to you, they still show around you, but in their mind, you just another relation, and they already have in their mind a more important relation, and they're thinking about them instead of you, but they still go around you because they light. They don't feel the connection or the lack of connection, or if they do, they can just move around it, right? So you can do that as well. If you have any bad seeds or any regrets, or you went too deep into something, or you witnessed something crazy, right? Take what it's worth from it. Usually we spend too much time dwelling into negative stuff, and certain things are harder to let go than others. I'm not saying it's easy, I'm saying you can do it right now by thinking, communicating, and analyzing about your emotions and feelings in a more mutable, scattered, light, cold, and detached way. You know what I'm saying? Just keep in mind that the full moon in Gemini is opposing Mercury in Sagittarius. So we have a balance or an extreme opposition energy. How can we balance this? Remember, Mercury rules Gemini, right? So we have the ruler in a place where it doesn't like to be, quote unquote, which is Sagittarius. So our mind and our conversations are into spirituality, creativity, dreams, illusions, imagination, wisdom, and knowledge. Our feelings and emotions are in logicality, coldness, detachment, and mutability. Both are mutable, right? So our feelings and emotions can help us clear out and feel more safe and feel more knowledgeable and feel more ready to go and think and make sense about spirituality and creativity. That's the balance, because Mercury doesn't do very well, but it's necessary in the Sagittarius element. And the moon doesn't do very well in Gemini, but it's necessary as well. Mercury is necessary in Sagittarius to make sense and bring realistic visions into your mind and relationships, and the moon is necessary in Gemini to make your relationships worth it, purposeful, and real, because Geminis can just go too far and be separated from everybody else, but they still talk, they're still there, but they separated, right? So how can this help us in the aftermath of the full moon in Taurus? Well, you can focus your mind and communications in some uplifting, creative, spiritual type of scenarios. And then you can use the full moon, quote unquote, in Gemini to feel lighter or to attract lighter spaces, lighter conversations where you can go and use the Mercury in Sagittarius and create the balancing aspect. How can we be opposed here? Well, you can oppose yourself. You might feel free to communicate, but then your mind is stopping you from communicating the creativity and spirituality, or the other way around. You might already be communicating and thinking about spirituality and creativity, but your surroundings, or you are attracting people, places, and things that are too logical, and they want to cut the wings from your Pegasus. They want to cut the wings from your dream, aka they always drying up, colding down, and pushing down uplifting, creative, spiritual moments. But, right, you should focus on the positive side, quote unquote, which is to lighten up, elevate, and even if you went through some tough circumstances, deep transformative circumstances in the full moon in Taurus, with Mercury in Sag, you can think about ways to make it creative, to make it spiritual, to have a testimony, and then with the full moon in Gemini, quote unquote, you can feel light, ready, and logical enough to actually do it and be in that space. Alright? So thank you very much for watching. Your support is greatly appreciated. I wish you the best thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, a whole bunch of individuality, creativity, and responsibility as well. Remember to believe in yourself, in all possibilities, and that the best way to be is to be your goddamn self. See you next time.